Trading on Oando has been suspended due to failure to submit its 2023 audited financial statements again. Did we see this coming? We're going to have the conversation. And with CBN's strong FX holding, reports have it, the CBN governor actually said the foreign reserve has risen to $40.2 billion in October. The Naira is still struggling to gain confidence and garner that rally. What is happening? And finally, Nigerian breweries, their losses after tax has expanded by more than 161% year on year. A breakdown on all this and more. This is Market Pulse on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics. Here comes that breakdown of market activities and, of course, analysis of the stories driving the markets. I am your host, Joanna Mustafa.
And I'm Frank Fagbo. Let's begin with some of the top stories from the global market. Now, there's still a lot of strong sales. It's forecast investors. The strong sale focus cheered a lot of investors on as Tesla's listed shares rose by nothing less than 12% to a 2-week high. Though the shares listed in Frankfurt, Germany, the CEO Elon Musk also predicted that vehicle sales would grow by 20 to 30% next year. He reassured a lot of investors that Tesla was improving its core electric vehicle business, and somehow it's all of that reduced the tensions and concerns about when it could produce a robotaxi. And you sure know that Elon Musk is a big talker, so investors are getting are literally keeping their eyes gleaned on what really the stocks has up its sleeves. Tesla is also has surged after the car maker reported surprising strong earnings and forecast as much as 30% growth in vehicle sales next year. But all this was a positive, and it helped lift the Nasdaq futures by around 0.5% in early morning of Europe trade. But seeing that in the US, stocks remained higher, with traders taking in the latest reading on jobless claims and a raft on corporate earnings. The S&P 500 futures rose by 0.5%, with the benchmark GERD heading toward its first gain this week. The Treasury 10-year yield declined 4 basis points. That's 4.2%. And the UPS Incorporated also jumped after rebounding to sales and profit growth for the first time in nearly 2 good years.
Okay. And of course, safe haven currency, the dollar, is set to post its 16th victory in 18 sessions and its 4th consecutive week of gains and positive economic data. And of course, it's reducing expectations regarding the extent and speed of rate cuts by the Federal Reserve, driving up U.S. Treasury rates, as Frank did indicate. The dollar index, which measures the value of the U.S. dollar related to basket of major currencies, rose by over 30 basis points to 144.43 after hitting its highest level since July 30th at 104.57 index points. According to the central bank's beige book released yesterday, economic activity was only slightly changed from September through early October, but the firm reported an increase in hiring. Of course, this aligns with recent trends, reinforcing expectations that the Fed will decide on a smaller 25 basis point cut at its November meeting. We're all anticipating that, but markets are already pricing in an 88.9% chance of a 25 basis point rate cuts with the Fed's decision next month, while the likelihood of central bank holding rates constant stands at 11.1%. So which will it be? We're going to have to wait and see. And of course, the effects on the dollar. That's your global market summary here on Market Pulse. Up next, we're going to bring you what's happening on the local bourse here in Nigeria, with a particular stock that has rallied recently being suspended today. Stay with us. All right, the bullish run is continuing on the markets today. 4 days in the green. It's been a while since we recorded that of late, but yes, it did happen today. The banking index providing a major boost for the local bourse today. Access Bank, FBN Holding, FCMB, Fidelity, GTCO, the list goes on and on. I believe it was just Wema that was in the red today. The NGX is up 0.25%, 25%. The All Share Index, of course, breaking ceilings, if we can have that up. Ceilings are breaking, we are above the 99,000 points mark with the all-share index, and as well, we have crossed 60 trillion naira with market capitalization. So ceilings are breaking. Hopefully we don't slip, back down, and we're able to cement our place, above those ceilings. Coming to the top gainer, it's been a while since we saw a banking stock take that #1 position as a top gainer, but we're seeing it happen today. Access Core gaining 9.95%. Academy, UPDC, and the rest up there, making up the top gainers list today. Coming to top losers, we are seeing quite a number of brewers making that list. Champion breweries as well, international breweries. We know that Nigerian breweries released their results today, but they're not up here. We'll get into a conversation about that later on. But there you have your top decliners list for today. Of course, more gainers than decliners on the markets today. Coming to the top traded stocks: UBA, JPOL Gold, Custodian, Access Core, and GTCO. Again, the banking stocks having their fair share on the list as well. Currencies markets: the naira has depreciated today. Yes. 1,654 naira to the dollar is where we are at. South Africa's rand gained today against the dollar in early trade. The greenback easing from its 3-month high today. The Kenyan shilling as well held steady against the dollar today. Traders are saying remittance inflow matched importers' foreign exchange demand, and that's creating a balance. That is what we need: exports matching imports, and then perhaps we can see a steady currency. But that's what's happening in Kenya. Up next, we have Ambrose Udeaba, head of securities trading, Planet Capital Limited. He joins us for Pulse of the Day, so stay tuned for that. All right, picking up the pulse of the day right now, providing you that breakdown of what happened on the NGX today. Ambrose Udeaba, head of securities trading, Planet Capital Limited, is with us now. Good afternoon, Ambrose.
Good evening.
Right, good afternoon, good evening. It's a couple of minutes past 4, but let's get to what happened on the NGX today before close around 2:30. Oando gained a significant rally, but it has been suspended today from trading on the NGX. We know that a similar thing happened earlier this year in South Africa, and this is of course due to the company's failure to submit its 2023 audited financial statements again, right? How is this news being received in the investment space, and how does this affect perception of the stock, amongst within the investment space?
Okay, thank you. I think the perception is not really a good one. The news for any listed company to be suspended is usually not a good news, and investors do not receive such news well. However, like you cited, the suspension is just for the company to do the needful. They remember sometimes early this month, they write to inform investors, that an extension for the submission of this audited financial statement will be due yesterday, 23rd of this month. So in line with regulation, I think the NGS is right, that is the law. And what is left for investors to see is how quick the company will respond and then resolve this issue for the suspension to be lifted. So once they're able to furnish the market and then the NGS with the 2023 audited financial statement, I think the suspension will be lifted, and then investors can also have access to trading the company's shares.
Okay. If you look at the Nigerian brewery's 9-month result has been released, and while they recorded about 70% growth in revenue, we're also seeing post-tax losses surging more than 160% year on year. Now, we know that last week they concluded capital raising, and for new and existing investors, how close do you think the light at the end of the tunnel is for this company and the prospect for for their stocks? Ambrose, I don't know if you can still hear me. Okay, there seems to be a...
If you look at the financial statement...
All right. You can go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you clearly now.
Okay, great. So if you look at the Nigerian breweries financial statement, like you rightly said, the capital raise and then the right issue, concluded last week. But I also think that the fund is not yet in their cover because again, at the end of closing of the right issue or the capital raise period, there are still other processes that need to undergo, and then before the conclusion of the whole process, and then the proceed of the capital raise going to the company. But one significant thing about the company is if you look at the Q3 report they released, like you mentioned, the FS is still having heavy impact on that, and then the finance cost also at the tune of 172 billion for the finance cost, and then 160 billion for the FX losses. Yeah. So if you also look at it, you see that before the cost came in, the company is already in the profit position, okay, right, recording a profit of about 29 billion, okay, profit they recorded. But we take it that once the capital raise come, even though what the capital raise can take care of is that of the finance cost, but then the FS cost is also what I think is being impacted by the general activity of the economy. So for the investors, I also think that we hope that the economy recovers, and as the economy recovers, or something is done around the FX issues the country is currently facing, and maybe the company also trying to see how to maybe manage those FX, maybe source some of their raw materials locally to ease that impact of the FX. Until that is done, I think this issue may likely continue, but we are hopeful that part of the things that are happening now, that the FS will recover, and then the general economy will improve, so that we begin to see the light, for investors in the company.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that strong, top line growth, but somehow the margins are shrinking, and they haven't quite been successful in transferring that cost to the consumer. But, we're seeing champion breweries as well operating within that sector, but it's the only firm in that industry that has posted profit during this period under review. And the stock has rallied, although it's, investors are taking profit. How do you think that champion breweries have somehow been able to differentiate themselves against the odds of the macroeconomic conditions?
Okay, so if you look at the champion breweries, you see that for the champion breweries, what caused the rally is also part of the financial statement which they released to the market, the Q3. If you look at it, by this time last year, they were in a loss position of about 77 million, okay, and then coming to a positive position of 21 million. However, if you look at the Q3 performance, which is also very up to the tune of 408 million. So I think is that Q3 that is also what is causing this rally we saw in the price. Although you earlier mentioned that is one of the stocks that lost today, and that is also normal in the market. So after some days of rally, prices will pull back for investors to take profit. But the reaction or the increase or the activities that we saw in the company is actually the performance for the Q3, and then being able to come out from the negative position of loss to the positive position in the tune of around 100 million. So in the tune of 21.4 million. That is showing that the company is also coming back. And then if you also deep down, you see that the cost, the finance cost is no longer there. And then the FX also impact is not really much again. So for the investors of the company, I think they are hopeful because they are beginning to see the company return to profits.
Okay, let's shift gears to the currency market. The Naira has struggled to make significant gains this year, and all of this is against the backdrop of improved FXO holdings held by the CBN. The Nigeria's foreign reserve also increased by 33 $38.4 billion in September of 2024, increased from $38.4 billion to $40.2 billion in October of 2024. Now, when you bring all these conversations of demand and supply, what is the cause of this mismatch? And can we expect to see things level up?
So, to see things level up, of course, if you see the improvement, from the reserve, is also a good sign, okay? But maybe because of the behavior of the general economy also, and some of the things, that, analysts expect, to really help this FX or Naira, recover against the dollar. Maybe some of them have not materialized. Okay, but then again, and also if you also look at it, you see that still that little fight between those still importing petroleum products and the rest. And also, I think also some speculative activities are also happening. And maybe for some of the fund investors or some of the investors also that are looking at it. So generally, I think that improvement from the reserve is a good one,
okay,
but not reflecting in the Naira gaining is also the situation of the economy, as we hope that things improve for these things to really be stable.
All right. Ambrose Udeaba, Head of Securities Trading Planet Capital Limited. A pleasure having you on Market Pulse.
Thank you.
We'll be right back for key metrics. Stay with us. So today we're delving into the latest economic outlook from the IMF, International Monetary Funds. According to their projections, Nigeria literally has a projection of nothing less than 3.22% in 2025. That's what IMF has said. And they're also projecting that inflation is anticipated to ease up to 25%. And now here's what stands out from the forecast. First, economic growth is gaining a lot of traction, and the IMF attributes this economic growth and improvement to a couple of reforms and increased non-oil sector contribution. Next, there's a hopeful inflation trend with a decline to 25%. Nigerians could see some relief from rising living costs. And finally, the role of policy adjustment is literally key to making sure this becomes a reality. The IMF has emphasized that maintaining fiscal discipline and continuing exchange rate reforms will be essential in achieving sustainable growth. But the road ahead there are lots of challenges. Global uncertainties, look at what is happening, domestic policy shift, all of this remain a potential risk to this outlook. This forecast signals a step in the right direction for Nigeria's economy. And that's it for today on Key Metrics. Obviously, it's a forecast and anything can happen. Let's make sure everything remains equal for us to be able to achieve this.
In the Nigerian economy, literally anything can happen. It's not so easy to make these forecasts, but we'll see what happens. We'll be tracking that right here on Market Pulse. Across Africa, the exchanges we cover across Africa, the Nairobi Securities Exchange is down 0.86%. All other exchanges we cover are in the green today, including Nigeria. We'll continue to track the pulse of the markets, 4 p.m. West African time every weekday. Tomorrow is the final trading day for the week. Hopefully we close in the green, but we'll be tracking that. I am Joanna Mustafa.
And I'm Frank Fagbo. Do have a profitable week.